In this video, we will go through an example module, and then we will look at how to apply the insights that we've learned so far so that we can tackle the questions better and be prepared for the exam. So let's begin. Now, broadly speaking, there are two types of responses that will be asked of us. The first type of the response is the more theoretical type. This is such as definition, arrangement, or hot area question, or things such as optimization. The other part of the responses include similar questions, but in the form of a source code. For example, you'll have to identify whereabouts in the HTTP request would you have the version of the model, or which part of the HTTP request would you find a prompt? Is it the body, is it the header, etc.? Now, in this video, we will focus on the theoretical part of it and leave the source code for another video. Let's pick an example. Let's pick the first learning path in the course structure, and within that, let's pick the first module in it. This is how it looks like. Now, within the module, we've understood earlier that there are different units. The first few units speak mostly about the theoretical part, while the end of it, where you find the launching the exercise, you'll have a bit of code and a bit of theory in it. And finally, it has an assessment. So let's go ahead and open the first unit. Now, the first unit generally is an introduction, gives a very high-level overview. You're not required to understand every little detail in it. It's just setting the stage, so to speak. So a high-level read-through is sufficient. Don't stress out. Now, the second unit, as you get in, you will see that it has now opened up a bit of a question type called the definition question type. It's mostly very high level. You will see a bunch of capabilities and descriptions. Now remember, these are not services, these are capabilities. And so skim through, understand it, again, figure out if there is any opportunity for a definition or a comparison question. At least from what I see, this looks pretty high level. So a little bit of time, but still simple read through is sufficient. Now the next unit, as we can see, has a little bit more information. At a very high level, it may seem simple. It's got definition question types, such as what are the different services and what they do. However, I'd like you to pay close attention to the similarities between the different options, because that is where the comparison question comes in. Have a look at AI language services and see how different it is from AI translation related service. How is AI vision service different from AI custom vision service? Obviously, they sound similar, but there should be some differences. Now, as you pay attention to them, you'll understand that there are subtle differences between them, and that's what separates them. And hence, you need to pay more attention to this unit. Now, if you scroll down a little further, you will only see that the challenge increases a bit more. For example, you will see Azure Foundry versus Azure AI services. When to use what? Anytime you come across these kind of similarities and subtle differences, pay close attention. Now, this unit, as an example, as we've said, has got a definition question type that can ask you what each of the service does. And secondly, a comparative question type or comparison question type, which is to say, how does one service differ from other? Remember, the questions won't be as simple as how does this service differ from the other. The question would give you a sort of a situation where it says you would be building a certain type of an application and you will need to do certain set of things, whether it is retraining a vision model or updating a converting the text from one language to another. Which service or services would you use? And that particular service should also offer you to do, for example, an API call or things like that. If you move to the next unit, unit number 4, this has a bit more information and quite honestly, a little bit more confusing. Now, you will notice that there is something called as a Foundry project and a hub-based project. Looks very similar, but they're not. These are very different projects for different purposes. They offer similar services, but different objectives. Now, this particular unit has the question types such as definition, which is what is Foundry project, what's a hub-based project. You also have comparison in terms of which one to use when. And thirdly, you also have a bit of optimization in it. Pay close attention to this one simple statement. This statement subtly tells you that a Foundry project helps you to minimize the administrative resource management. What that means is when you're given a particular task and they say, what kind of a service are you going to opt for this type of a task? And then when they bring you the additional optimization part of the question saying, ensure that the administrative functionality, the effort that you put in is as low as possible. So now you know which one to select. So this particular unit has a bit more type of questions than the earlier ones. If you move to the next one, which is launching the exercise, here's where there's a bit of an overlap between the theoretical understanding and the practical knowledge. Remember, it gives you a flavor or a taste of what a source code or a more technical question would look like, but it doesn't entail the entire knowledge that you need to gain. Now, if you open up the launch exercise option and you go through that, you will quickly notice that there are quite a few question types, all the way from definition, as to what is a project, where do you find it, etc., to a bit of arrangement, which is what comes first and what comes next. For example, pay attention as you go through the launching the exercise option to see what are the steps that you would take and in which order. Because the questions that come from this particular content would be around, you have to, for example, they may say something like, you have to create a project, an Azure AI project. Here's what you need to do. Here's the outcome that you need. How do you go about doing it? Well, the answer to that lies in this launch the exercise section, where you will see a step-by-step approach. For instance, in this case, we will need to have a subscription, a resource group, and a resource within that. And we need to know what that resource is. At the same time, pay close attention to where they're placing the secondary and the primary keys. Is it a key vault? Is it secured somewhere else? Whereabouts does it sit? How is it connected? What do you need to know to connect to that service? Is it the resource group name? Is it the service name? All of those questions can get answered out of this one simple piece of content. So what kind of question types do we see in this particular unit? We've spoken about the definition and arrangement, but we also now see that there is something called as a hot area question, which is to say that the Microsoft exam will offer you an exhibit that shows the front end, and then you'll be asked a bunch of questions from it. Now, where do you find what? Where do you manage keys? Where do you click? Is it the settings section? Where do you select the models? Where do you have the drop down to upload something? All of those things are appearing right in front of your eyes in this particular unit. Now, while some of this is pretty obvious and evident, the best place to find more about it is by logging onto Azure, using your free credits that Azure gives you, and then trying it out yourself. I think that will take you to a much better place than just looking at it and understanding it from a visual perspective. Now, there's so much more to understanding the source code than what you will encounter here, but more on that in another video. Thank you for watching and have a great day.